Hello, 7th graders. So our last lesson for this week, the week of April 12th to the 16th, is going to be looking at found and parallel poems. Found poems we worked on last. That's where you find a piece of text and you cross out the words that you don't want and you keep the words you do want in order to find some sort of poem that creates an image, tells a little bit of a story, and when written down is in short lines, that is not in complete sentences, but really has a complete thought. So we're going to move from finding poems to using a found poem to start the process of writing our own poetry, but using the structure we have already created, and this is called a parallel poem. So for this lesson, we're going to look at a passage from Holes, and then we're going to see how the author created a found poem, and then what you do to create a parallel poem. So here's a passage from Holes, page 127, and Holes is by Louis Sachar. So this is the straight paragraph text. There was a change in the weather for the worst. The air became unbearably humid. Stanley was drenched in sweat. Beads of moisture ran down the handle of his shovel. It was almost as if the temperature had gotten so hot that the air itself was sweating. A loud book of thunder echoed across the empty lake. A storm was way off to the west beyond the mountains. Stanley could count more than 30 seconds between the flash of lightning and the clap of thunder. That was how far away the storm was. Sound travels a great distance across a barren wasteland. So here you'll see that I have crossed out or highlighted in blue the text I don't want. So here's the poem that was found from this text. There was a change for the worst. The air became humid. Beads of moisture ran down the handle of his shovel. It was almost as if the air itself was sweating. Thunder echoed across the empty lake, a storm beyond the mountains. 30 seconds between the flash and the thunder. Sound travels a great distance across the barren wasteland. So this is a found poem. So we're going to move from finding a poem to adapting this exact same structure, which what I mean by structure is the number of words in a line, the types of words that are used, and we're going to create what is called parallel poetry. To write a parallel poem, I'm going to use the structure of this poem right here to get started. And to start off, I'm going to go really slow, and I'm just going to change a few words. So I'm going to start my parallel poem. So in the Holes poem, it started off, there was a change for the worst. So I'm going to start off with, there was a change for the town. Now my next lines, I'm going to notice it starts with the air became humid. So the, noun, verb, and then an adjective. So I'm going to try and use that same structure. Instead of the air became humid, I changed that to the mill became vacant. You notice I'm trying to just change a few words so that I can use the same structure but change the topic. So I added a few more lines. So again, I am trying to use the same structure, the same number of words, and even some of the same words to write my own poem. So let's look at it again. There was a change for the town. The mill became vacant. Groups of workers were fired. The quiet of the mill, it was almost as if the mill itself were grieving. So you'll notice, I'll use a little highlighter here, I have the handle of the shovel, the handle, I have the quiet. Oops. So the handle goes with the quiet. Of the shovel, of the mill. It was almost as if, the air turns into the mill. Itself was, sweating becomes grieving. So all I do, and it takes some time, it's a little tricky, and I think I'm going to stop there because I'm going to show you a finished one. So what you do when you have a found poem that you like, then kind of set it up side by side. Keep the lines that you like, the lines that you think work. So, for example, I like this one, so I'm going to keep it. I like this one, so I'm going to keep it. So in a parallel poem, you are changing the words and phrases that you want. and then you're keeping some of the other lines that you think work for your poem. So I'm going to show you a finished version. So the parallel poem is no longer about Stanley and the hot, sweaty day and the handle of his shovel. This becomes about a football game. There was a change for the team. The crowd grew restless. Beads of moisture pooled in the corners of his eyes. It was almost the same as the time he blew the touchdown. Thunder grew in the crowded stands, anger building on the sidelines. 30 seconds on the game clock, and he kicked. Sound exploded as the ball flew across the end zone and through the uprights. So this author added a few more words, but that's okay. The structure and the numbers of words and the rhythm is still the same. It started out as a found poem, but just by changing words, but keeping the numbers of words and the structure and the rhythm the same, you now have what is called a parallel poem. And then this is your first poem that you wrote by yourself, but you still didn't do it alone. So your task now is to find a poem that you like from your found poem collection, and then side by side with the found poem on one side, try to create an original poem using the structure and words and numbers of words and rhythm of your original poem. So good luck.